Yes.
to another episode of Next Level Love Stories. Today, we are super excited to bring another amazing
Hmm.
speaker. We have Jenn Fisher here with us,
Hmm.
and she is a travel blogger. And her work in the world helps trauma survivors heal through solo travel, hiking, camping, nature, doing inner child work, and
So cool.
mindfulness.
So cool.
It's amazing. So Jenn, in her journey, she's determined to heal her own trauma. So she applied everything that she had learned from across multiple modalities and has found her way into recovery and living trigger free. And from that, now she's helping thousands of other readers overcome their fears of solo travel through topics on abandonment, grief, anxiety, sexual abuse, generational trauma, fear, control, and ancestral healing arts. Her mission is to help trauma survivors achieve emotional and mental freedom and begin their own self-healing solo travel journeys. And she's living a next level love. So
So
let's give
cool.
it up for this amazing human being in the world doing such good work.
Welcome.
Jenn, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to it a lot.
Yes, us
Hmm.
too. So we like to start out by just asking you to share a little bit of your love story. Tell us about like how you and Nick came to be and what makes this relationship a next level love for you.
Hmm.
So, I really enjoyed listening to how my story evolves because even to me, I still find myself like, oh, yeah, that really was my life. So, what was left out in the intro, so that anyone listening is very clear on, I left my marriage to go ahead and heal myself, which
Mhm.
I'm sure, with anybody who's experienced divorce, especially when children are involved, is just
Mhm.
devastating. And, you know, and today we're remarried. There's the punchline.
The same husband.
Whoa, that was a plot twist I wasn't ready for.
I know, but sometimes I like the suspense, but sometimes I don't like to be, toyed with. So there you go. There it is. Um, you're gonna get all the things that happened in between. But if you're a too long didn't read kind of person, that's what we're talking about here. My mantra was so nice I married him twice, and it
Mhm.
is a very unique and special love story. Almost I think of a phoenix coming, rising from the ashes. We were
Beautiful.
married almost 20 years when I left my marriage. We loved each other, but there was such levels of codependency that we were silent screaming for the most part. The
Mhm.
intimacy that we both wanted, the authenticity, there was just no way. There was no bridge. Like we were kind of our own two separate islands. We tried,
Mhm.
you know, um, and I had significant trauma in my childhood, and it was undermining anything and everything I tried to do as a
Yeah.
whole and
Yeah.
integrated person.
Wow.
Um, and you know. It's not really a way to live.
Mhm.
It wasn't fair to him. He deserved a wife that could be present. I deserved
Mhm.
to, you know, live a life that was, me and not a mask. You know,
Yeah,
um,
authentic.
so it took around 7 to 8 years, and that's when the travel blog, and actually that's when solo travel began. I didn't solo travel before, but it was during leaving the marriage and going out to discover, how all of these wounds have, the betrayals from childhood, the abuse, how it has, you know, first I had to see them, come out of denial. Then I had to, go through all of the stages of healing, with
Mhm.
anger, and then I got to meet my PTSD, for a bunch of years,
Hmm.
and then as the years ticked by, the the healing became greater than the trauma.
Wow.
Powerful.
So what was your relationship with Nick like in that time when you were doing this healing work?
So we do have 3 children together.
Mm.
We had 10 years in between our first child and our second 2 children.
Oh, wow.
So at the time, my oldest was 30, my middle was 5th grade, and my youngest was 4th grade.
Wow.
And we really, nailed it as a family. We camped, we hiked, we, were very involved. We were really a happy, connected family. And, and of course that was wonderful. That
Mhm.
was what we were able to fall back on years later, as we were both going through our separate and individual processing of the marriage breaking up. So at first, what it was like was what you would consider a typical healthy separation. And when I say typical healthy separation, because I want to define it, not everybody's separation looks like anybody else's. And
Mhm.
we were able to come back and co-parent pretty quickly. I would say, within a year, we were able to be very friendly, and then after that first year, the true friendship developed, you know.
Mhm.
And we had our problems. Our children went through a lot of significant mental health problems.
Mm.
So, where, it did tear us apart. At first, we did not go to blame or shame. Thank
Good.
God, you know. It's almost like I'm just considering it and reflecting on it now. It's almost like, I had that compartmentalized. I was really in my shame and blame in other areas of my life, but with my, family and my children, because we were still a family and we actually still can celebrated holidays together pretty, routinely. Maybe not the whole day, but
Mhm.
it was easy to go ahead and still come together. And but yeah, it was never part of our relationship before. So, and I do attribute it to his significant character to be a very compassionate human being,
Mm.
honestly.
So
Yeah.
good.
I think he's one in a million.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any sense while you were on your solo healing journey that you two might end up back together?
It was so weird.
Yeah.
It was so weird to wonder that.
Mm.
Um, so I really almost went through a metamorphosis in all of those years. And all together, it was about 9 years.
Wow.
I couldn't have, I did not end up in the same place. I was a completely different person. So
Mhm.
I would say if I broke it up into like quarters, the first quarter where I was like fleeing, fight or
Mhm.
flight is very appropriate.
Mhm.
I ran,
Mhm.
and that was the last thing I would ever sit with. It would make me crawl out of my skin for trying for so long.
Yeah.
That is the last thing I'm gonna ever consider. No,
Wow.
slam the door shut.
Mhm.
Maybe around year 4 or 5, it was starting to be like curious to me. I had
Mhm.
a bit of a curiosity. I was maybe watching his life a little bit, but also I still was in the thick of it.
Sure.
And then as some of the significant mental health issues with our children were coming to the surface, it was a role reversal where in the
Mm.
I had so much shame that I acted in, and I really had no self-esteem. I really hated myself. I
Mm.
just really did. So anything was always my fault,
Sure.
and as I started to reclaim those broken fragmented parts, it wasn't all my fault anymore, you know, and it was just huge, enlightening, you know,
Mhm.
like, wow. Because I had him on a pedestal, which of course is an effect of trauma.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because why would anybody love me? And then
Mhm.
sabotage, you know.
Yep.
But you know, as I dug in and went at it very hard, um, I was able to say like, hey, I actually know what's happening here because I have recovery, I have pause, I have insight, you know, I have healing. And like that scale that was, you know, like here I am in hell and he's up in heaven. Like it really came
Mhm.
to equilibrium. And so yeah, that was very there was shifting going on there. And now it was almost like we were equal humans, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And probably the last 4 years, it was just it culminated in a secret that I had with myself, in that like maybe we did have something, you know, as I went out
Mhm.
and learned, you know, and spent time as now a fully integrated woman,
Mhm.
not covered in shame from a lot of what I experienced. Um, I got to reclaim, you know, the self esteem of a woman, you know,
Yeah.
and actually be able to see myself as a woman of dignity.
Mm.
And you know, that's where I started to say, you know, well, what if, like, what if we were meant to be, you know, and let's take a look at without fear, you know, and I wouldn't share it with anybody because I
Wow.
didn't, I this was just between me and my
Sure.
God, my higher power. This was a secret, you know, because I didn't want anybody's influence in my head and my heart, you know, because my
Mhm.
heart had been through a lot, obviously. And now it was much stronger and knew itself. My heart was very clear, you know, and getting stronger by the day.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that's where I was like, okay, well, you know, I have nothing to lose. Just ask him, you know. And if he says, yeah, I always, you know, wanted to get back together or, you know, what it didn't matter. I wasn't tied to the outcome. I just was looking for the answer. It's yes or no, you know. We're still going to raise kids. You're still going to be my friend. Because by the last couple of years before we got together, we really stepped in and helped each other. You know, our trust was very strong. He's like the only person I would ever ask about my finances, and that's saying a lot. You know, the only person, you know,
Yep.
but like everybody has that area of their life, you know, that
Mhm.
they're like, oh, I know this is speaking loudly because this is the only person that, you know, I would trust, you know, but then like little things too, with whether it was my house with my electricity or other types of questions, you know, he was there for me, I was there for him. So yeah.
Mhm. And clearly he said yes, that
Mhm.
he was interested.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he
So
did.
how long have you two been together now in chapter 2?
We will have our 1 year remarried anniversary in January. We got remarried in January, but we got back together in May of
Mhm.
2023. But we wanted, if he was here, he'd be like, I wanted to get married as close to our first anniversary as possible. And we
Mm.
were a day off of that date, that original
Oh.
date. So we went on our honeymoon in November because that's when we had the time off, but we didn't
Mhm.
get married until January.
Oh,
So
that's so sweet.
yeah,
Mhm.
it was,
Congratulations.
thank you.
And it's like
So cool
what an
story.
evolution of self, right? Because
Mhm.
there's something that drew you two together in the beginning, but as you named Jen, like you became a totally different person. And so the woman that Nick married last year is a different woman that he married 30 years ago.
Mhm.
And I imagine that he's different too,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? So, what is your relationship like now? What do you get to enjoy?
Well, I'm going to just be perfectly candid. I think I'm a very hard person to live
Mm.
with.
Okay.
It's good to know that about yourself, you know?
um, and I know that about me. And
Mhm.
what, might drive somebody else crazy if they had to, he just laughs at me.
Mhm.
So that's where like you find that person that, like your stuff doesn't trigger them. They don't trigger you. Like I am still the same person. I could still, even with all the work I've done, I react much differently. But
Mhm.
that first year was hard. And
Yeah.
I say, yeah, I was really a bitch that first year. Like I was, like, I'm sorry I was, so horrible, and I just, I do a lot of inner child work, and to sell my house, that was, my haven. And then moving back home, I was, a lot of my inner children were really going through it. Like,
I
what are we
believe
going to
it.
lose ourselves again? Like, are we going to be a martyr? Are we going to become codependent again? Are we, I don't have any
Scary.
like, land. There's people everywhere. Like, I mean, it was just, like when you think of a child that doesn't like change, like that was me for probably about 6 months, So I
Mm.
say it was a year, but it was more like 6 months where
Mhm.
I just wasn't relaxed. And that's the truth,
Yeah.
I just was, like, oh, like very, very agitated, which was anxiety, a lot of anxiety,
Mhm.
a lot of transitioning. And then, my beautiful, lovely family that I love with all of my heart, and then they were coming back home. Like two of them were in college, and my oldest lives 2 hours away. But I was really, honestly, quite isolated during that healing time. So it
Mm.
was an affront. Like I wasn't used to being around people. COVID, like you name it. I spent all
Mhm.
my time alone. So I was freaking out,
Sure.
just inside, I was just like, yeah, yeah, back together. But he's took it all in like he does. He just, after that many years and that much trust, you just give people space. Thank
Mm.
God, like that I'm able to enjoy that type of relationship, because honestly, for years and years during that time, when people, I would hear people share that they have a healthy relationship with their spouse, or they have a healthy relationship with their significant other. I was like, wow, that's so nice. And I'll never have that. And I wasn't
Mm.
being self-pity. I was being completely realistic. I had no reason to feel sorry for myself. It just was gone. That ship had sailed. It was like
Mm.
in my 50s. I just didn't hold out for any of that anymore. I
Sure.
really didn't. So, when I say these things today, this is all brand new for me. This is not something that I hung any of my expectations on, because I don't know, maybe I'll just be a spinster. I don't know, maybe I'll meet somebody, but I just didn't put a lot into it anymore. I just
Mm.
accepted that it's me, and my responsibility to take care of myself,
Mhm.
be the best person I can be, and really not abandon myself in codependency anymore for anyone.
Mhm.
And again, my relationship with my higher power was the most important thing to me, because there's many, 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 many dark nights. That's what I learned. That's
Mhm.
all you can really ask for in life. Like, I love depending on people, and I'm very blessed to be able to. But there is a part of me that says you come into the world alone and you go out alone. And what I mean by that is, there's got to be something connected to you and your soul.
Mhm.
And, I had it. So now I actually have it in the flesh too,
Yeah.
with him. He and I both have it.
Yeah. That's so beautiful.
Hmm.
And I so appreciate your honesty, Jen, about the anxiety that showed up when you re-entered this relationship and decided to take the risk of being in a relationship that for 20 years wasn't working very well, that you tried a bunch of things, but you were in these patterns, and then you worked so hard to heal yourself and get out of those patterns, and you didn't know what was going to happen. And I think that's an experience that a lot of couples who go through really hard things in their life or their relationship, like have to experience, because our nervous systems are, and our inner children, right? Our parts are 100% going to freak out because they've been hurt before.
Yeah,
You know?
that's our brain's job.
Yep.
Keep us safe from the things that hurt us before.
Yep. So, like if you're trying to get back into, or like heal your relationship after an affair, or after things have been really bad and you're taking the risk of trying to make it better, or you feel like you can't count on your partner and you've lost trust, but you still want to stay in the relationship. It's like that leap of faith, that decision is going to activate all of your stuff. And what you're also speaking to so powerfully, Jen, is the self-reliance that you learn to have, to know that like I can keep like tuning into myself, connecting with my higher power, assessing what's happening, and making sure that I'm okay, because I'm not dependent on somebody else to make me okay. I know that I know how to make me okay. And when you have that personal empowerment, it's a very different experience of the risk, right? Because like you know that your wings will catch you if you fall. Does that resonate?
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah.
My wings will catch me. They will carry me. They will not, fall off. Nobody's gonna clip them for me. I'm not gonna cut them, so somebody will love me or like me. Yeah, and also what you're speaking to is so relevant for me. I could easily be classified as a love addict. I could easily be classified as, please come in knight in shining armor, rescue me. I had a lot of those issues very clearly connected to my trauma. And I would never betray myself or anybody listening to say that, like, I'm okay now because I'm in a relationship, or, I have love. Like, no, that part that's in me that's like, don't do that again, is like, no, let's just be clear that love is safe now. And we are not doing like how you describe putting it in other people's hands, for sure, because it's until, the work, you get to the other side, they might sound the same. They might sound similar. And I just want to clarify they're very different, because I was not a whole person. I wasn't, but I am now. And, as you said, it was that 100%.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I would love to hear, in your solo travel healing journey, what was the most healing, profound experience, moment in those 10 years? I would just love to, I really do want to dig way more into your story, just like all the places you went and the journey, but I'd also love to like start at the apex, right? Like what was like the most impactful experience for you in those years, in your growth, healing?
So the most impactful was the Grand Canyon. My trip to the Grand Canyon was actually not solo. It was with my teenage son.
Okay.
But it was like solo because I was with my teenage son.
Sounds about right.
So he has his headphones on and he doesn't want to talk anyway. So, he's just in his world. And, I went through it physically, mentally, my anxiety, the amount of terror that I had walking through this, first time on a plane with it in this new phase of my life, it was defining. And then, just driving to get to the Grand Canyon, like I had just lost my mom. And, the first time I saw the Grand Canyon, it was pretty much like sunset. And yeah, I just cried because it all just came off. It was pretty much a symbol and a theme of what travel is for me in that moment, that
Mm.
um the way that nature can take it off of me, whether it's in the United States or abroad, or in a camper van, or at a snorkeling. It's a feeling of connectedness to um, you know self-love, really self-love. Like, I gave this to me.
Mm.
This feels really, really good. Like, we dreamed up this dream to go here, and we took all of the steps and followed through and executed it, and here we are. And you know why? Just because we said this is what we want to do.
Mhm.
Right.
And we did it, and there's always that overwhelming joy. Now, for the Grand Canyon, it was really a mess. It was it was all of it. But it was such a climax for getting there. It was kind of like all of the years that I had gone through, that change, and that growth and that healing, were ugly. It's a
Mhm.
lot of ugly
Mhm.
crying, a lot of pain, and a lot of loneliness, pacing from PTSD and panic. So that's keeping it real. So then getting to the Grand Canyon is also keeping it real. Like, I could barely even swallow. I have autoimmune diseases, and when I get stressed out, it dries out my throat even more.
Oh
Mm.
no.
So I went to the desert in the summer. You can imagine
No, it is
it must be.
hot
About as
and
dry
dry
as it
there.
gets. Yeah.
I've done that. It is tough to breathe for someone
And
without autoimmune disease.
yeah, and then I'm crying, so I'm losing even more. And I was like, I'm gonna run out of gas, because I didn't stop and get gas, but I was fine. Yeah, but it was
The
just
anxiety.
total. hmm
Mhm.
And all of it was like just that moment of going, and just the universe saying, "Look how beautiful this is." This is for you, not in an ego way, but in, like, we got you. Like, we're here. And I've been to Grand Canyon West as well, besides the national park, and I had that same feeling. So probably for me, that area of the country is very spiritual for me.
Oh, it
So
is. You can
yeah.
feel it when you're in that area of the country.
hmm
Just the spiritual presence is profound.
yeah,
I'm
it's
looking forward to
palpable.
going with you someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the most palpable, even the second time, because I said, "Oh, I remember this."
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
So, what advice would you give to other folks who are like who have trauma history, who are struggling with codependence in their relationship,
Mhm.
who want to heal and have a better relationship but don't know how, um and maybe don't want to go through 9 years of being out of their marriage before being able to be in it? What are your words of wisdom?
So, whatever it is for you that gives you that joy, for me, it's solo travel.
Mhm.
But whatever it is for you, do it. Spend time with yourself, building that relationship, building that self love, and getting to know yourself.
Mm.
I understand a lot of people can't leave. I had to. I didn't have a choice. I was
Sure.
not. I mean, I did have a choice. Um, and that's the one I chose. But it felt like I didn't have a choice.
Mhm.
I felt like I was dying, So
Mhm.
maybe it's not that extreme for some people, So whatever it is that makes you love you, do that, and find 20 other things that give you self love, and then do
Mm.
that. And, if at all possible, do it by yourself, for sure.
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. And you've talked about like the inner child work that you do a lot of. How did you learn about that? Or do you have any, 'cause we love inner child work, inner parts work. But I'm curious what you found to be really helpful in your trauma healing journey, how you connected with that framework and that work, that healing journey.
So it kind of connects to the last question, which could be hard to hear, like do it by yourself, do it alone. That could be hard. I understand. But if there is trauma in your history, chances are there could be brokenness in you around your your self-worth and your lovability. And the only way that can be healed is through spending time with yourself, to develop a relationship with yourself, to heal that, you know. So it's not anything against the other person, and it's not isolating. It's to go back and like nurture and hold and love those parts that were so hurt by the trauma. And that is what the inner child work is. I came across it. I did a lot of different recovery programs on the phone. Like I just had it in my ear all the time to help, my brain rewire. And I had discovered CODA, which is Codependence Anonymous. And I needed something more intense than that, because I considered myself a low bottom codependent. And so I discovered adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. And that's how I was introduced to inner child work. I did have a therapist. She's there if I need her, but I don't need her at this stage in my life. But she helped to hold space for my inner child when all of the memories would come up, and we would need to walk through it. And my inner children, felt very safe with being able to, feel those feelings in a therapeutic setting. Journaling for sure. Journaling, even non-dominant handwriting journaling helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say more about that, because I don't know if everybody knows what that is and why it's helpful.
So I'm right-handed, so I put the pencil in my left hand and ask my inner child, like, what do you want to say, or how are you feeling? And it's a very magical experience, because it brings you right back to when you first learned how to write your name in kindergarten or first grade or preschool. So the letters are all scribbly, and awkward. And there's, for me, the process was kind of almost like an interview, like almost like channel writing, It's like, it was like, I don't like this. And, because it was my non-dominant hand, it was, it came out a little bit more as just as choppy. The thinking was just as choppy as the writing. So it's almost like if you think about how you used to think when you were just learning how to write, it took you a long time to get that thought process through. So the only way to really understand it is to just try it and just grab a piece of paper and a pencil and or a crayon,
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually interesting, because I've been trying to do the same thing. It was just like a inspiration download for me. And as you were talking, what came up for me was I noticed sort of having the patience that I try to have as a parent for myself, as my left body is trying to do something that my right body is like so expert, so quick at. It's like, hurry up, we can be do this faster. And the left side's like, but I don't get a chance to practice this very often. And like, like there's this duality there where, it always feels like you're parenting yourself in, patient coaching, like nurturing way.
Yeah, is another.
I'd never heard of this, but like that's so cool that that's a thing, and now I'm going to go research it.
Yeah, and try. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of my left hand, because my right body is just like, oh, I'm so tired of all the doing, and my left hand's just like holding things and like whatever you need, right side. So anyways, that's cool.
What I love about that connection that you're making too, Cal, is that it's another really lovely way to practice loving yourself.
Yeah.
Right. To practice that patience, that non-criticism, that allowing to be messy and imperfect and stumbly.
Yeah. Choppy. Yeah.
You know, and like that self-love journey that you're speaking about, Jen, is so key for all of us. And I think especially for those who have experienced trauma, because trauma absolutely breaks, like shatters our sense of self, our inner children. And as especially when the trauma happens as a child, it's so impossible to make sense of like how another person could do that, except to believe that we are unworthy, unlovable, or deserving of that kind of pain. And so, like, reparenting those parts, learning to love those parts, nurture those parts, accept those parts, heal those parts, hold those parts, be with those parts even when they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like that is
especially when they're uncomfortable, because that's where the work is.
Yes.
Which is why I like travel. That's exciting and uncomfortable making.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's travel is like such a beautiful, I mean, we love travel and adventure. So we're already on board with like the travel. Anyways,
I freaking love it.
But like the intersection of that healing work and what anybody experiences traveling solo, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the stress, the planning, but also the adventure, the exhilaration, the beauty, the fucking nature, and the way that heals us and connects us. But now you're doing that all within the context of like, okay, inner children, you know, you're going by yourself, but you're not going by yourself because you're coming with this inner world that you're trying to develop relationships with. And that's just like, it's such a powerful avenue for doing that growth and healing work. And we know that the better we create relationships with ourselves, the better we're going to be able to do relationships with other people. It's like foundational.
So good.
For sure. Yeah. And even just the small example of the non-dominant handwriting is just showing up. So it's such a small thing. But for my inner parts, like just showing up means you're important and I'm going to give you my time, you know? And then when it gets rough, there's the unconditional love, you know? But, you know, like for me, my core wound is abandonment. So when I show up for myself and I say like, because you matter, I'm like, wow, you know?
Yeah.
It feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
So one of the things that we love to talk to folks about is like, what is the next level for you in your relationship? Like you've done a lot of healing work, not that the healing is ever totally done, but you've reconnected with Nick, restarted this marriage, retransitioned from solo life into couplehood and shared life together. What's next? What are you dreaming of, creating, excited about, getting to experience now that you are back in this relationship?
So one thing that I never expected was for Nick to start to refer to some of his like inner child, but he just is little Nick. Okay, so here's how how it happened. I would just notice there would be these like little outbursts like at dinner. He's like very grouchy around dinner. He's like, I don't want that, which is so not his nature, you know, but there's something there. And at first I would get annoyed and because, you know, I'm human and I'm like, what are you so mad about? You know, blah, blah, blah. But as I sat back and I noticed like he just has this, he's an inner child that like has, you know, things that he wants about his dinner, you know, it's like, hey, that's cool. You know, I won't take it personally. So, you know, small little daily things to just, you know, experience a new way of interacting and relating to each other, to be able to laugh at our humanness or foibles and give them names and, you know, like, be safe people for each other at all times. And then the big things are like he's come on board a lot more with traveling. So
Mhm.
I still travel solo, um, at least 3 to 4 times a year, if not more.
Cool.
But we travel 2 trips a year together, and so I love to watch him get excited about going somewhere. So his ancestors are from Italy, and
Mm.
you know, we're planning that trip for next summer to Italy, you know.
Very
But then, you know, we're also going to go to Vermont and check out the foliage in a couple of weeks.
Mm.
So, like, the next level thing for us is to enjoy the moment and the moments. Sometimes
Mm.
they're big, like going to Italy, and we're really looking forward to that. And that's, I think that anyone who's interested in our ancestry and takes those trips for healing or for any kind of inquiry or, you know, calling, it can be
Mhm.
pretty significant and profound. Or, you know, just walking the dog together and
Mhm.
being best friends, you know, like he's my best friend.
Mm.
And so, um, that's just our everyday.
I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
So what I'm hearing is like next level includes continued growth for each of you, and this like intersection of being able to talk about one another's like growth work and the parts that are showing up, and like making that a part of the relationship dynamic, that we know that we have parts and they're going to show up, and we we can laugh about it and we can name it and be like, hi little Nick, and
Mhm.
hey little Jen,
Mhm.
I see you're joining us for dinner tonight.
Because let's be real, like, you
Yes.
know, when you do have a live-in partner, you have tasks, whether
Oh
it's children or bills or, you know, and we can get cranky with our tasks, I think, you
yeah.
know, so to be
Yeah,
able to have a sense of humor around it, I think that's
Mhm.
pretty amazing.
Mhm. Oh,
absolutely.
it's so, I mean, like humor and fun and play is essential to relationship health and
Mhm.
well-being. I don't know that it's talked about enough, or in terms of like how to cultivate that in our
Yeah,
relationship. People talk a lot about communication, but like what about the friendship? What about the fun and
the
play and
fun, the
adventure?
dopamine.
Right?
Yeah,
Like that, when you have a really strong base there in that friendship and that fun,
yeah,
communication tends to be a lot easier because you have the safety, you have the trust, you have the foundation of knowing that even if our communication goes awry, I won't be abandoned, right? I won't, my partner won't think less of me.
Mhm.
I'm not worried about not being enough for myself or for them.
Right.
For
Yeah.
sure. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. I'm
Mhm.
so excited for you too to have your trips to
Yeah,
Italy and
and
elsewhere,
everywhere.
and you
Yes,
know, it's so fun to be able to celebrate with you, Jen, like a 20-year marriage, but also like a brand new relationship
exactly.
that
First wedding
has,
anniversary
you
coming up.
know,
Yeah.
that has such deep roots with one another. That like what a magical gift and blessing that you both, you know, well deserve
Mhm.
in
And I do
this
think
chapter.
it's full circle with coming back, both of us integrated and whole people, because as I look at life through the lens of, hey, I'm a whole human being and I'm passionate about this and that, and you know, and then my partner knows, you know, Nick knows not only that I'm not going to engulf him, you know, and enmesh
Mhm.
him around that. He learns from watching me, you know, like, hey, that's pretty cool. You know, I like learning about that or this.
Mhm.
And then when I think he has the same thing with him, you know, his views of life and his things that he loves. It's
Yep.
really, you know, amazing to be able to fall back on just healthy human relationships.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And to keep learning from one another and growing with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and not looking to the relationship to sustain us,
Mm-hmm.
because it just sinks the ship.
Yep.
So I'm, over here doing my treading water, and
Mm-hmm.
we can enjoy that we have a nice steady ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the solo traveling that I still do, has so enriched our relationship. I travel a lot in the summer, and even from the beginning of the summer, and now it's the end of the summer, and we're going into fall, we have grown so much closer. Because
Mm-hmm.
as a recovering codependent, I can get easily triggered. Like, don't ask me for more than I can give. I'm gonna freak out again.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
do my time with me, and I'm still growing and healing.
Yeah.
And I'm able to give all of me and not feel I've given too much. So when I'm away doing my thing, it allows me to understand how much I love him, without feeling like, a victim, or feeling coming from a trauma response that,
Mm-hmm.
I have to give what I have and I might get all used up, like
Mm-hmm.
it still opens my eyes, even from this past summer,
That's awesome.
which is just lovely when your partner is telling you, like, I really missed you, and like that makes them, so like, it makes them very happy to hear that. you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then that time apart, it really does solidify so much between us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah. I'm really taking away from this conversation, Jen, how critical it is to I want to say take care of ourselves, but it's not just that, right? It's like be fully responsible for our own well-being,
Mm-hmm.
right? Keep our own head above the water, keep our own ships afloat so that we have enough to give and can choose to give it and aren't depleted in the giving, that and nor relying on our partner to keep ourselves energized and recharged, right? Because we have our own access to what recharges us, what brings us joy.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you are your own like sovereign, integrated, dignified woman, you have so much more to give and can give freely, which is a really different and so much more sustainable and enjoyable relationship dynamic than any like shade of codependence, because there are a lot of them. I think the codependent dynamic shows up in a lot of relationships. Even just the idea of like my better half, like this is the other half of me, or I
Make
found
me
my
whole.
other half,
Yeah.
right? Like we've got two halves and now we're a whole, but now you've
Because
only
I
got one
found-
whole.
Yeah.
And not two whole people, just one. So who gets to be whole? You make me whole, but then you're empty, or I make you whole, but then right? So it's like there's aspects of that show up really commonly in our relationships, and
Or just a common discourse in our
it's almost expected, right?
society.
That our relationship is supposed to sustain us, as you said, right? It's
complete us,
sustain us, make us happy, fulfill and enrich our lives, and it can do all those things.
Yeah.
But that we can't, like, the difference is, do we need them to do those things in order to be okay? And our relationship can bring us all of that beautiful joy and enrichment best when we don't need it to, when we know how to bring this to ourselves, and we do bring this to ourselves, and we maintain our independent, self-fed, self-loved experience. And your story is such a powerful example of that. Is even from like almost an extreme place. Like you're demonstrating what's possible even in like depths of pain and trauma and intensity of codependent like patterns. You've still been able to move through it and come to this beautiful place, and that is just so amazing.
Yeah, and other people can too.
Yes, they can. And that's what you're all about, right?
That's a great segue.
Yeah.
Tell us more about how other people can, people who are listening, watching, who are really interested in the work that you do and wanting to learn more about your story and how to work with you.
Okay, so my website is jennfisherbooks.com. So Jenn, Jenn, and then Fisher and Books. I thought I wanted to be a writer. I actually always did, but then I kept the name because now I book travel.
There you
So
go.
kind
That's
of
awesome.
I love puns. So all of my resources are on there. I have my memoir will go through, the exact modules, the modalities that I used,
Mhm.
because they maybe were formal conventional therapy or maybe, and I did EMDR.
Yes.
And it might have been, spending time doing yard work for significant reasons with certain types of music, certain types of movement of my body, different hiking, moving meditations. So, it wasn't just one thing.
Mhm.
The whole story, beginning, middle, and end, is there. I
Nice.
also have an ebook called Fly to the Moon. It's inner child travel, which was really fun. So if you were interested, if you already solo travel and you knew a little bit about your inner child or want to learn more, it's so much fun. It's got all these graphics for your inner child to enjoy, pictures and activities. It's very much geared for fun, but also meditations and like the adult healing stuff. We
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
all of that, but also a lot of just silly fun things that gives you an awareness and that time with your inner child while you're traveling, and also retreats and stuff for you to do. But yeah, there's freebies on my website on how to start solo traveling. Ancestral travel. My ancestry is from Ireland, so I've traveled to the UK many times in search of healing generational trauma. So
Mm,
yeah, it's.
beautiful.
Oh, and if you're on Facebook and you just travel for mental health, we have a Facebook page too. So,
Nice.
yeah, join our community. It's lots of fun.
I love it.
So
I
cool.
love it. And people can learn of your community through your website, or
Yep,
what would they
yep.
search on Facebook?
So on my website, there's a tab for
Okay.
resources, and then
Okay.
it's got everything that I just discussed and more.
Perfect. Perfect.
So cool.
What a great resource
Yeah.
in the world. Thank you for everything that you are doing and sharing to support people's healing journeys.
Yeah.
It is so needed.
It really is.
And
And such a unique, fun, cool way to do it.
yeah,
Like, a lot of people think of trauma work as like sitting in a session with a therapist. And it's like, actually,
I mean, that might be part of it,
that
but
could be, but
here's
like,
all these other options.
yes,
So many options.
it's a
I mean,
buffet of options. Mix and
so
match.
many. And right back
Mhm.
at you because the fact that you two show up here together
Aw,
on
thank
this
you.
journey with this message is
Mm,
very inspiring
thank you.
Thank you.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because, that's it, showing up. I'm
Mhm,
here, you know.
mhm,
So you're
mhm.
doing it.
Yes.
We
Yes,
are.
we are.
Thank you for your witnessing us.
I love watching it. That's why I said it. I'm like, wow. I know you must hear that all the time. I know you must hear people say like that's a testament to be able to sit with your partner and yeah, I don't think most people could do that.
That's true. It's true. Thank you.
It's definitely true.
Yeah,
So awesome.
we've worked for it.
Yeah. We got our own story.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to yours in ways, but yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't start here. So good.
Well, this has
Thank you.
been a joy and a pleasure, and I look forward to staying in touch. I'm going to check out your website and your
Mhm.
resources so I can be even more familiar and make sure that I can direct people to you, because
For sure.
we need trauma and mental health and self-love inner parts work journeys.
This life
Like,
it's a traumatic learning space.
It
So,
is.
we all need a little healing.
Yes. And that is an essential part of the relationship journey.
Mhm.
We
It
hear
is.
that time and again in these conversations,
Yeah.
that you create the next level love when you do that self-love, when you do that self-healing journey. So,
Yeah, and who wants to create more trauma in your relationship? But that's what ends up happening,
yeah,
You don't want to hurt the ones you love.
yeah.
So to be able to be kind and compassionate to the people that are closest to you is a blessing and a gift.
100%.
hmm
I love it. Awesome.
Well, thank you again. Until
Well,
next
thank
time.
you guys. Thanks.